Okay, hello. There are the comments. Okay, I didn't get the chat until I went live. Interesting. Well, I went live a few minutes early because I thought there might be problems, but I don't see any. Knock on wood. So, welcome everybody. My name is Margaret Pinard. Welcome to my channel. You're on Booktube. And I almost went with what is this? The TLC version? But no, we'll do the Victory Garden version. I am all a grubby and not that well prepared for the wrap up today. It's a Wednesday wrap up day, and I wanted to get at least one more book wrapped up to share with you. But last night I was super tired from the heat. This morning I went and gathered blackberries, and then I prepared the bits of the pasta salad for later that needed heat so that it would dissipate. It is still a little warm in the apartment, but we'll take a cold shower later, and that will be among the many varieties of heat resistance. It's another spike day in Portland. It's going to get like 98 or something. And what is this telling me? Thank you. I don't need that. And then it's going to cool down for the next week and be in highs in the 70s, 80s again. So just got to make it through one more day. So there we are. I'm your eclectic reader, historical fiction author, and what I had to share with you today included a Cornwall book, a mystery, and 2 cookbooks. And I was going to add another Cornwall book, but I am about 5 pages from the end. So maybe I'll just do a little reading from it and bring you along with my journey. So, I can't pop up the comments. It's so weird that I can't do that. But hello, Cat Paw. They said, hello, I'm here catching up on Tour de France. Well, wow. Okay, so I see that there's basketball on the TV. I see the World Cup obviously has just been hitting the headlines, but there's also cycling. Interesting. Very big sidebar. There's a way that I have of avoiding buying magazines, which is holding on to very old magazines, and I just go through them again when it's the season. And I was going through the June, July ones yesterday and realized there's a week-long bike ride through Iowa in July, last week of July or something, and it's going on right now. And I looked it up to see if it was still going on because this magazine was from 2004 and it's now 24 years later and it's still going on. But they had a whole feature in Saveur, rest in peace, about the different stops people would make and the Iowan foods that they were highlighting and featuring, which was cute. So yeah, Tour de France. Hope it's going well for you, whatever that means. And Julie is here. Yes, my friends, my Margaret's live alarm has sounded. Sweet. I love that. Okay, so I hope you guys are all keeping cool as you can as well. Stay hydrated. And I'm going to show you the first book. Let me just make sure I'm not skipping any, because I know I had to return some to the library. I'm going to look on my story graph. And it says Keeper of Magical Things. I went over. So mystery, Cornwall, cookbook. Okay, so that's what we'll do. So I was having sort of a slump and reading a whole bunch of books. I just kept picking up books, hoping one would capture my attention. The problem was they're mostly nonfiction, and none of the nonfiction was the type of immersive nonfiction that I get absorbed by. So I was just reading a few pages here, reading a few pages there, and not taken by the throat by anything. And so I went to my penny paperback section basically, and I found this, which I put in the ice cream tag, I believe. Josephine Tay, who's a golden age mystery writer, A Shilling for Candles. And there's the lurid Gareth-esque cover. So it's actually set in Kent. So this was set in the south of England, and that's why it came up on my ice cream tag. So Josephine Tay, if you don't know, wrote the Inspector Alan Grant mystery series, of which this is one, but also the Silver Sands. No, that's Silver Surfer. something Sands. And she's done lots of interesting mysteries. They're very of the time, 1920s, 1930s. But, you know, I enjoyed it. There's some very strange regional things. There's some very strange and sort of abrupt take you out of the story era, the time kind of things. But at its essence, it's a murder that happens at the beach, and they have to investigate who it is, first of all, and then who did it, and then they think they know, but then there's a reporter and the inspector, and they're racing against time, and there's another mystery mixed up in it, so it's a little bit of a doozy. And it was very good. It was very exciting. I don't know if you guys have read Josephine Tey, but I would highly recommend. And then the Cornwall book. The Cornwall book is not this one. This is the one I'm almost finished with. I got 5 more pages. But I got 2 Daphne du Maurier nonfiction books on Cat Paw's recommendation. The first one I read was called Enchanting Cornwall, and this is the second. It's called Vanishing Cornwall. And I have to say, I like Vanishing better. I'm not sure if that's Cat Paw's opinion as well. But basically, these are nonfiction. I think one was written in 1968-ish, and one was written in 1981-ish. So one was like the year that her husband died, right before her husband died, and one was when she was far retired and just doing whatever she wanted, basically. And yeah, the Enchanting one had a lot of early Daphne du Maurier photos, which was pretty neat. She definitely has a distinctive face. And in both books, she's reused a bit of the same copy to talk about her own life, which, why not? You've already written it. Why rewrite it? But it goes a lot into like the legends and myths and regional interest and history of Cornwall, which is great. I still haven't read a Daphne du Maurier novel, but I've got 2 on the shelf. So I'll definitely read one of those before I go, and then maybe I'll get another one while I'm there in England. Hello, Ven. Ven just came in. New format. So YouTube Live instead of StreamYard. We're giving it a whirl. Constance, hello. Hi. I know I have read Tay, but can't recall details. I think I liked it. Yeah. I'm not a big Agatha Christie fan. So whenever people say, oh, she's the queen, I'm like, give me Josephine Tey any day. So let's see if Google will tell me. Sands. Singing Sands. That's what it is. It's one of those beaches where the water goes over the rocks, the very small rocks and pebbles, and they rub together and they make like an eerie sound. So yeah, the Singing Sands. That was my first one, and it was really good. She's also famous. I think it's her for writing the Boys in the Tower book, which I can't remember the title. I don't think that's it. But it was like a amateur detective is recovering from surgery in hospital, thinks, oh, I'll read this book. Oh, maybe I'll solve a historical mystery that hasn't been solved in 300 years, and like investigates the Boys in the Tower mystery of the royal family murder. So if anyone knows the title of that, you can submit it. Cat Paw says, I'm only getting the recaps on YouTube. I used to follow it, but there's nowhere to watch it for free anymore. Subscription only. It's been dramatic. Oh, the Tour de France. Gotcha. The recaps. Okay. Well, I was talking with a friend who watched some of the World Cup matches, and I have not watched any matches. All I see is like the roundups and the recaps and like highlights, and that's just fine with me. Julie says, I received my postcard and your handwriting is so nice. Isn't it fun? Looking forward to a vacation. Yes. Yes. Yes, exactly. Thank you for the handwriting compliment. I'm sure if my mom is watching, she will preen her feathers for that one, because she has very nice handwriting and wanted to make sure we all did. And I think the only one she went wrong with is my brother, but he's lefty, so it's not the same. Cat Paw says, I haven't read Tay, but I will give her a go. Recommendations. Singing Sands, I would say definitely. And then let me see if I got it right or if I'm totally leading you astray. Daughter of Time. There we go. Her 1951 novel, The Daughter of Time. is the one where she talks about the Richard III Princes in the Tower mystery. As an English person, you might find that more interesting than the average person because real English history. So Singing Sands and Daughter of Time, I would say. Start with those. And then if you find any of these, use Alan Grant, Inspector Alan Grant mysteries. He's rather amusing to listen to, detect as well. So yeah. The Cornwall book, yes. And the cookbooks. So 4 books today. I'll put up a thumbnail afterwards with the 4 books, but today, as I said, I went blackberry picking. I thought about it at about 7:30, and I thought, well, I'll just go for half an hour. I'll come back at 8, and I'll have plenty of time to do a thumbnail and to set up a StreamYard event. And then I was like, yeah, I should do that. Real life, right? Why am I being a slave to the schedule? So I went down, and I was there until 8:30. So I was there like almost an hour because I was just having a good time, like snipping my way, pruning back the brambles over the sidewalk and collecting blackberries where they popped up. So I didn't get all the way down to the area that we're supposed to be watching for pedestrian safety, etc. But what I was thinking most of the time is, so I started at one end and I piled up all the branches, sort of picking them up with my cutter and carrying them because the gloves were not great for the thorns. They would go through. I had one hit through my glove. And after a while, it was like 20 feet to go put it on the pile. So I just left them on the sidewalk and they'll die. And when they die, they can just be like swept up. The cuttings of the brambles. And then I thought, I bet someone's going to walk down here and say, gosh, what a mess someone left, and not appreciate that, I did all this pruning and it's not my job and I'm not being paid. So someone else can do some other work. That is how I look at it anyway. I tried to do it nicely so it wouldn't be like a tripping hazard. So anyway, so that's what I did. That's what I got carried away with. I haven't taken a shower yet. I'm still on my grubbies. And as I said, I had to do the cooking now so that it wouldn't be hot later. And we'll see if that worked. Okay, so on to the cookbooks. I went into Powell's a little bit ago and got 2 cookbooks because there's no stopping me, apparently. They were just really good finds, and I really like one of the cookbook authors. So here we go. I read through them and was vastly entertained by this entertaining book. So it looks like a reprint, but it's not. It's not cross-stitch. It's meant to look cross-stitch, but it's actually from 1959. Betty Crocker's Guide to Easy Entertaining, How to Have Guests and Enjoy Them in a House That Looks Like That, with a white picket fence, obviously. So if you look inside, you can tell it's obviously vintage with the colors and the illustrations and whatnot. And when you read it, you can obviously tell it's vintage as well. Where's the thing that I showed? Listen. Teas, brunch. Well, I didn't mark it down, apparently. The only recipe that I thought would be interesting was a sauce for baked squash. But there was another one in here where they had a recipe for guacamole in 1959, and they took the trouble to explain what it was, where it came from, and how to pronounce it. Guacamole. I thought, this is hilarious. And then I didn't even read the recipe, but when I showed it to my friend, they pointed out that the recipe had like Roquefort cheese and Tabasco sauce and some very questionable elements. So, imperialism lives on in 1959 Betty Crocker cookbook. The other thing that I thought was interesting about this was that it spoke in the first person. It's a cookbook that says, if I had to choose one form of entertaining only, I would choose buffet service. One of my friends has a house that always looks immaculate, furniture and silver gleaming. She smiled when I asked her about her routine of housework before her parties. So, I mean, I think we know Betty Crocker's not a real person, right? It's kind of like the Carolyn Keene, the person who wrote the Nancy Drew mysteries, is not a real person. It's kind of like people who form boy bands. They're the work of a team, and to choose to write it in first person was just interesting for me. I'm sure it was like the going format in the day. But yeah, it's strange. 60 years later or plus, to read it now. And it's just interesting. I do like historical cookbooks. So 1959, sorry to tell you, boomers, is historical. So that's that one. That was fun. Let's see. Julie says, I have an original Betty Crocker cookbook with the red cover given to me by my mom. I love that book, and it's helped me so much. Yeah. Is it still intact? Because I've had one cookbook that I really liked. I've had it maybe 20 years. And it's a hardcover, but it doesn't have a very good binding. I didn't use it all that much, but I went to go look at it, and the pages are falling out. They're really nice clay pages, but they're just falling out. Like it's a tear-off rip-off notebook when those were cool. So yeah, I guess if it's a red and white, it's a binder, and so you could always just reinforce the 3 holes in the papers. So that's probably a better design than a memoir cookbook that is not going to stand up to a lot of use, I suppose. So yeah. All right. The second cookbook I got is I'll Bring Dessert by Benjamina Ebuehi, and fans of the channel will know that I already have a cookbook by Benjamina Ebuehi. She did Good Day to Bake. Great Day to Bake. Anyway, she has a first cookbook, and basically it came out of the pandemic. She put together a lot of recipes, some of which are just done with pantry staples, a lot of which are not health conscious, but like focusing on fresh and seasonal and herbs and spices for flavor rather than your saturated fats and your go-tos. And she has interesting combinations. And what I really liked, well, 2 things. I always like reading the little paragraph where the cook will introduce their recipe, and they'll say, oh, this is what I had growing up in summers in Cape Cod. Although that's not a good example because that sounds snooty. Or, this is what I did when I got home from my first job every day, and I was so tired but so proud of myself, and it was very easy. You get a little bit of storytelling from their life along with how the recipe came about and what it's best for. I love that. And Benji does that really well. And the second thing is that in this book, what I love is that she has beautiful photos. Of course, everyone has beautiful photos in cookbooks these days. But she puts her hands, there we go, her hands, other people's hands in the frame. And I feel like it's very purposeful that like a Black woman is doing all this beautiful cooking and photography, like witness, like represent. So I don't think we normally see this. And so I just love to see the representation. And yeah, I just think it was very thoughtful. I don't know if it was like a big publishing discussion with her team or whatever, but I just love that she puts herself in, and it's just a little different and a bit more of what we need, I think. And there's beautiful creme anglaise, like, oh my gosh. So some of these are going to be, aspirational, and some of them I can probably do right now, but I did put some tabs in, and I definitely have some ideas that I think one of my friends will enjoy. There's a what was the one that I was going to point out? Pistachio and fresh mint panna cotta. That has today's name on it. Like 98-degree day. Yes. Panna cotta. Do it last night. Set it to Jill. Like, whew, that sounds so refreshing right now. So yeah. So, beautiful plating and presentation and introductions and explanations. Really helpful notes. British and American measurements, except for the gelatin. She has gelatin, I think, in sleeves, and then says platinum grade. So if you're a British person who bakes, tell me if you know what that means for gelatin. I have, I think, a box of gelatin I've had it for a while. It may not be good anymore, but platinum grade sleeve or a leaf, how many leaves of gelatin. That's not how we do it. We have packets of powder. So I'm not sure how to translate that. But in every other respect, 10 out of 10. Love these. Love these. Love this chef. So I'll definitely be doing some of those desserts. Julie says the dessert book may have a recipe for your blueberries. Blueberries. Oh, you mean the blackberries that I picked this morning? Let's see. I did get blueberries from my friend yesterday who has a bunch of blueberry bushes, but I put half of those in my granola this morning. So let's see. Berries, lemon and berry summer cake, blackberries, peanut butter and blackberry tart. Oh, I'll show you that one. It's got to be like peanut butter and jelly kind of flavored. 42. Come on. There we go. Peanut butter and blackberry tart. Ta-da! And I'll share the little intro just as an example. Frangipane tarts will always be a staple in my dessert rotation. They are endlessly customizable and a good option for both casual and fancy settings. Here, I've gone for the classic sweet and salty combination that just always works. Peanut butter is a powerhouse of an ingredient on its own, but when paired with a sweet jam, it brings a playfulness and nostalgia that I can't get enough of. That's pretty good. So, and frangipane, I think is... Let's see, vanilla, egg, flour, almonds. Yeah, frangipane usually means like a sweet, dense, I guess, sticky layer that involves ground almonds. That's always what I keep in mind. But yeah, I don't think I'll do that one. Tarts need oven time twice, I think, and I don't want to use the oven at all. So, but yeah, to give you another idea of the breakdown, these are grouped according to something fruity, something chocolatey, something creamy, which is where all the panna cottas and custards are, something nutty, and something on the side. And the something on the side is for all the texture people, because it's all the stuff like you need crunch for. You put it on the top or you mix it in to give it like a little bit more of textural interest. So I just think they're really, really well-rounded. There we go, tongue twister. And yeah, she doesn't have a YouTube channel. I've looked her up. She doesn't have many appearances. The only appearances she has are on other people's channels when it's obviously a partner collaboration and she's being paid. So you know what? I support that. Get your bag, as they say, as the kids say. Okay. Cat Paw says, I remember that gelatine sheets, mother used those. I use agar-agar, and that is very rarely. Yeah, so I'm sure there's somewhere online where someone has like made a translation. I have a few of those resources, but you never know like how reliable they are. I think America's Test Kitchen might be the place to go for that. Fact-based. Julie says, yes, I've seen those gelatin sheets used on the Great British Bake Off. See, yeah, that's different. Agar-agar is made from algae and common in Thai cuisine, which is my favorite. Nice. I definitely have seen that in recipes as an alternative for vegans, vegetarians. And what's the other thing? Agar-agar. And it's not cornstarch. That's a thickener. What's the other thing? It's like a white powder that gets clumpy. Arrowroot. Arrowroot powder is the other thing that will like make something gel or thicken. Now I can't remember which one it is. Anyway. So for my last act, oh my gosh. Epilogue. Well, it's 10 pages, a little less than 10 pages. That's a little bit too much to read, but I'll give you a paragraph of the Cornwall book. That's Daphne du Maurier and her son, Christian Browning, because he took his dad's name. He did the photographs for the book, which is pretty neat. Chapter 15, The Where and When. What does the future hold for Cornwall? This is like 1968. Will it indeed become the playground of all England? Chalets and holiday camps set close to every headland, despite the efforts of the county planning authorities and the National Trust to preserve the coast. Pressure can be high from those bodies who see progress in every widened street, boo, and every quayside cleared to allow more cars, more amusement arcades, more bingo halls, bowling alleys, dance clubs, set upon sites where terraces or cottages once stood. The demand for these things exists, it is declared, and must be met. Boo. Cornwall depends upon the tourist, and if he does not find there the attractions of Blackpool or Southend, he will no longer cross the Tamar, I don't know how to pronounce the river yet, but take his custom somewhere else. Interesting. So what do you think happened? Anyone who's been to Cornwall since 1968? Has it gone to the dogs? She does touch on some National Trust properties already bought by that point, and I know there have been quite a few more. The Frenchman's Creek property is actually, I think, a National Trust property that you could stay in, because I remember looking it up and thinking, whoa, that's so cool. But that's in the middle of nowhere. Not the greatest place to go if you're on your own. So, yeah, that'll have to wait, but it looked pretty neat. And maybe I'll read Frenchman's Creek. I don't have that one, but that's definitely a library pick. Hi, Jim. Hello. We're doing YouTube Live instead of Streamyard for a change, so. Ben says, it was beautiful when I went, but that was a decade ago. UK has been on fire since. LOL. Well, yeah. I just saw that the Cairngorms were on fire in a TikTok video, which is super worrying because Scotland, one of the wettest places ever. I mean, Cairngorms is on the East Coast, but still, for that to be dry and catch fire is very worrying. But that is the inspiration for today's live stream title, which is, what are we even doing here? Because I was all set to do my wrap up, keep on schedule, keep with the routine, finish another book, which I didn't get to do. And then I thought, I don't want those blackberries to go to waste. And someone needs to cut back those brambles so that people don't lose the sidewalk. So I did that instead. And I went over time. And then I came back and I was like, well, for my own health, I need to do the hot stuff now. So I did the pasta boiling water and the tomato blistering. And there was one other thing over there. Oh, that's just the thawing. So I did that. And I was like, I'm still hot. We're going to have to cool down some other way. And then I thought, existential crisis. It's climate change. Wow. We have come 27 minutes and 33 seconds before I said climate change. Is that a record? Maybe not. But just so you know, I do a lot of climate reading and advocacy and research to figure out how I can best be a community member, I suppose, in these hot, dire anthropocene times. So that's why I just threw that title up there, because it seems like the existentialism is at the same time as the anthropocene peak. So I wonder why. Can't be a coincidence, can it? Oh boy, Jim's gonna give me IPA. Tamer? Am I saying that right? I don't remember what the regular E is, but I know the I with no dot is a I. Tamer. Oh my gosh. That is not what I would have guessed. Cat also says it was beautiful when I went too, but that was a long time ago. I think 20 years. Still later than 1968. Kappa says Tamar. Not using IPA. So maybe that's the better bet. Oh my gosh. So the cool thing I'm learning about Cornwall is it's almost an island. It's almost all cut off with this river. Tamar. Tamar. Okay, well, I'll say Tamar and try to have it an even emphasis and let someone correct me when I arrive. But in the Victorian ages, when the first big bridge went over the river connecting Devon and Cornwall, and ever since it's been, I don't want to say shit show, but the locals have lost a lot of their individualism, and the language died out in the 1600s. Cornish used to be a thing. And what did I What did I highlight? Oh, I'll read you something that is maybe interesting. Let's see. So when I think of Cornwall, I think of tin mines. There's a lot of abandoned tin mines. And then apparently there was also a copper run, like a gold rush, a copper rush. By the middle of the 19th century, there were some 50,000 of them working the mines, both tin and copper, for Cornwall was now the largest copper producing district in the world, producing 2/3 of the entire supply. The mines are no longer concentrated in West Cornwall, in Penwith, Carrier, and Pider. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but sprawled eastward, covering the county. Lainscott was the largest and Carradon copper mine north of Liskeard, I'm also saying that wrong, I bet, on the borders of East and West Wivell, alone employed 4,000 people. The boom reached its peak by the late 60s, the 1860s, and then the bottom began to fall out of the market. Copper had been found by Lake Superior. Women of the Copper Country, read it if you haven't. It's a 5-star book. Tin in Malaysia. Labor and production costs were lower there than in Cornwall. It no longer paid the landlords or the adventurers, the tin miners, the independent tin miners, to risk their money in the West Country. The great days were over. Companies folded up, mines closed down. Hundreds, then thousands of tin and copper miners found themselves out of work without hope of employment. There was no alternative to starvation for the miners but mass emigration. 1/3 of the mining population left Cornwall before the end of the century, taking their skill to other continents, to America, South Africa, Australia. While back at home, their mining towns and villages were left unpeopled. The mines themselves deserted. No smoke coming now from the tall chimney stacks, no sound of engines in the pumping houses, the land about them reverting once more to barren waste and scrub. Does that remind the readers in the chat of anything? I mean, that's an inspiring story. That's how the keening started, right? The bottom fell out of the market. That's not just economics. That changes lives. So that's interesting little pieces, yeah. Oh, let's see. Tamar is the name of the 12th century Georgian queen who ruled in her own right. A very common name here. Oh, Georgian, that Georgian, not Georgian as in King George. Gotcha. Oh, cool. Tamar. The only person I know with that name is, and I would say Tamar Adler, who is a sustainability cook genius whose book I read. So she's pretty neat. Julie says, climate change. All I know is that we're stuck in the 80s and 90s here in Los Angeles. Temperatures, not the years. And the change is that it's not cooling down at night, which is always used to. Yuck. Yeah. Heat island effect. I don't know what would prevent cooling at night specifically. That is an interesting specific question. Because it has to do with the winds and the temperature and the ocean, I would imagine. Well, if any climate scientists are listening in, let me know if you know. Jim says tin mines were in Poldark. See, I haven't seen that. Catpaw says, I'm reading Women of the Copper Country. What? Right now? 25% in. Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. Oh, and Catpaw also says Hungry Hill, which is one of the books that I have by Daphne du Maurier, is set in Cornish Copper Country. Yes, that's right. So Hungry Hill is one that is about, I think, the time of the potato famine, but set in Cornwall. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Tamar for the river. Tamar for the girl's name, says Jim. Okay. Nice. Okay. So yeah, if you didn't catch that, if you didn't know what I was hinting broadly at, the excerpt that I read about the copper mining economy falling away is awfully similar to the kelp economy falling away in The Keening, which is the book that I wrote. Yeah. Anyway. Jim says the Georgians call Tamar King Tamar because she ruled in her own right and not the wife of a king. Interesting. 12th century queen in her own right. That's an interesting phrasing. Everyone's got different legal parameters for government, I suppose. Okay, so you know what I'm still reading? I'm still reading Vanishing Cornwall. I can't share the screen with you, but I can tell you what else I'm reading if you want to pop in current reads. I am just about to finish a Dorothy Sayers. Now, there is another Golden Age mystery writer who lots of people love because she wrote the series with the character Lord Peter Wimsey. I read one and I was not impressed, but I want to give her Harriet Vane character a chance. And this actually is not either. This is just a random mystery as far as I can tell. And I'm almost done. It's called The Documents in the Case. And it's what's it called? Epistolary. So it's just a file of documents and you read them in a specific order such that you're presented with roughly the sequence of events happening from different viewpoints from people as they related them in their letters to others. And then by the end, I guess you're supposed to figure out or know, or it's be revealed that, who the killer is, or if there was a killer or whatever. But yeah, it takes place mostly in London. So Dorothy Sayers, I don't know if you guys are fans. I'm sort of like this. So I'm still trying to she has a lot of books and it's Golden Age. So it would be good if I liked her, but I have to find something that I get along with, Jim says Cornish lads are fishermen and Cornish lads are miners too. But when the fish and tin are gone, what are the Cornish boys to do? Yeah, this book was very specific, actually, because I know the herring is a phenomenon for the whole island because people would chase the herring around Great Britain. But what they talked about in here is actually the coming of the pilchard, which is a specific fish, and it's between the size of an anchovy and a sardine, I think. So it's a very specific, small fish. And it used to be just like the salmon here in the Pacific Northwest, just frothing the whole harbor when it would come by the island. It said they would go out and throw a big net over it, make a big catch, salt it all down, share it out, export it. And it was a big thing. A big thing. Daphne du Maurier has a memory of when she was a little girl visiting Cornwall when she was under 10. And they woke her up in the middle of the night and said, the pilchards are here. Because everyone went out in the middle of the night and was watching, because you could see on the ocean, in the moonlight, I guess, the frothing of the ocean. So that must have been very dramatic. Yeah, that's pretty neat. And I'm sure they don't come anymore because they've been overfished, which is also related to climate change. Jim is saying queen regnant, not queen consort. Okay, that's another way of putting it. Leslie's here. Hello, Leslie. Catpaw says to Jim, market gardening and sheep farming back in the day. I'm not sure what that refers to. Oh, what are the Cornish boys to do? Gotcha, that you're answering that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, there are other ways. Ven says, still working through an indie sci-fi, a Dirge for Cassius Part 2, about 200 pages left. I think it's my biggest book so far this year. Oh my God, at 800 plus pages. Oof. Dirge for Cassius. That sounds familiar. Maybe I saw your Part 1 commentary. Oh, man. Yeah, well, while I'm on my reading slump of reading a bunch of nonfiction books, only a few pages at a time, Ven is attacking 800 plus pages and many other books as well. Nice. Okay, so in addition to Vanishing Cornwall and the Dorothy Sayers documents in the case, I'm also reading bits of 21 Things You Do Not Know About the Indian Act, as I highlighted in my July 1st Indigenous Canada Day stream. I'm also reading a little bit of 32 Words for Field, which is the Monaghan Magan book about Irish language and how it relates to culture and survival and place. And that's really, really cool. I sort of stopped on the others here. So yeah, those are the ones I'm basically reading through. Oh, and Drawdown. I picked Drawdown back up, which is the big, huge book about different actions we can take to mitigate climate change and adapt. Let's see. Jim says, my mother loved reading Dorothy Sayers. I tried one, but it wasn't for me. She also liked other Golden Age mystery writers like Ngaio Marsh. Yeah, that's another great name. Ven says, may read the new Heartstopper that just came out next, as I believe it's the last one. Yeah, it was very bigly featured in the bookstore where I went a couple weeks ago. They had it right front and center in front of the counter. Yeah, new book. Okay. Great. Current reads. All right. Well, I think we're going to have a day full of a little bitty walk so that I keep up my mileage, and then a shower, and then like pasta salad and reading on the couch. I don't know if anybody else is for that life. Bean has apparently adopted a new coolest place in the house. It is behind the couch on the floor, which is the carpet still, under the bike wheels. I'm not sure why that's the coolest place in the house, but that is where he has chosen to cuddle up for the last few days. And it's weird because I didn't know that was his new place. So I was like, where'd Bean go? And I go out in the front when I had the door open for cross ventilation. Like, has he escaped? No, it's under the bike tires. So little doofus. Jim says, currently reading Dead Cert, which is a Dick Francis, another not Golden Age, but definitely classic mystery. Wild Seed, which is classic sci-fi by Octavia E. Butler, excellent. And Mansfield Park for the last bit of Jane Austen July. It's the 22nd today, right? So you got 8 days, plenty of time. Excellent. Yeah, you got 2 books in Jane Austen July. That's doing well. Ven says, it looks like it might rain finally. This makes me happy. Yes, I'm happy for you as well. Now, if the rain just made the people go away, right? I would settle for just rain. Yeah. So there we are. Wednesday wrap-up of 4 books and a little bit of the looking into the current reads, which will be on the next wrap-up in a couple of Wednesdays. One of the other exciting things is I'll be going on another camping trip. Actually, not a camping trip, a backpacking trip. I've never been backpacking, but I have a friend who invited me, and there's going to be like 5 or 6 of us to go. And like they're loaning me a backpack, like one of those big ones. And we'll see. I've tried to be a more useful camper. So now it's upping at a level, and we'll see. We'll see how I do. I'm fine carrying stuff, and I think it'll be cooler than hot because of the temperatures in general, and also like being in the forest. So it just sounds really nice to me right now. So hopefully you guys have fun plans for the weekend or whenever you next have time off, whether that's backpacking or camping or reading on the couch, either way. And if anyone is doing the ice cream tag, when I tagged you, please let me know. I haven't seen any so far. So please tag me when you do so that I can go watch your video. Other than that, I think we're good to go. Happy July 22nd. Thanks for experimenting with me with the YouTube live. We'll see if that made any difference to anyone. And last little bit, Julie's got a current read. Maurice by E.M. Forster. That's a good one. I haven't read it, but I've read a few other of E.M. Forster's. I like his writing style. And The Sentence by Louise Erdrich, which I haven't read, but I've read a couple others of Louise Erdrich. I didn't jive with one, and I did like the other, but that was probably because I read it as a buddy read. Good. Lauren at E.L. Summers, hello, dropping in to say, how are you? Happy summer. Hope you are staying cool. Kepa says, make sure you carry the backpack with the hip belt, not on your shoulders. Yes, that was detailed to me when I got the full demonstration in person. Yes, I made an original ice cream tag for this past Sunday was ice cream day. So you can check it out if you like. I don't know if I can do this later, but yeah, ice cream tag. And that's it for today. So thank you everyone for stopping in and telling me your current reads and hanging out for a little bit. I'm going to go back and finish some books, a mystery and a Cornwall book, and dream the day away after I get a little more exercise in. All right. So thank you for being here, experimenting with me, existential crisising with me, and take care, everyone. Happy reading.